head, my hips, my back, that's if it or let's just jump straight into it. And we are going to start with our spinal articulations. For this exercise, you're going to need a bottle of water or a weight plate if you have at home, nothing more heavy than 2 kilos. And from here, if it doesn't pull in your hamstrings, your legs are straight. If it does, feel free to bend your legs. Our upper body is parallel to the floor. And from here, I'm going to start arching my back, beginning at my hips. So my hips, my mid-back, upper back, and head. And we're going to be reversing. So head goes down first, my upper back, my lower back, and my hips. Starting from the hips. So rounding through lower back, your mid-back, upper back, and head at the end. And reversing, starting with the head going down, nice and slow, making this movement as big as you can. If holding the weight you have in your hands is too heavy, feel free to drop it. And from here, we're going to repeat this 4 more times, super nice and slow. You should really feel it burn in your lower back, in your mid back. You might feel it in your neck as well. Should not feel like a bad or sharp pain, should just feel like your muscles are working. The reason we do this exercise is to warm up our back muscles and really make sure that our back is moving in the correct way. So all the weight and all the pressure in our back stretching exercises is not going to go right into our lower back, but it's going to distribute itself throughout our whole spine. And wrapping up our last repetition, nice and slow. Letting go of our bottle of water or weight plate. If you need a sip of water, this is the time you can have it now. Otherwise, we're going to be coming straight down to our stomachs. Our arms are going to open to the sides, and from here we're going to do a few back extensions. So I'm going to be lifting up as high as I can, holding for 2 seconds at the top and coming slowly down. We're going to do it again, thinking about leading with our head, and then our upper back, our shoulders are back, and then our lower back is being lifted up off the ground. As the last thing, as I do these lifts, I really want to be thinking about trying to touch my head to my glutes rather than trying to lift my head up as high as I can to the ceiling. We only have 6 repetitions left, so let's do it together. We're going to be coming down, and from here we're lifting up as high as we can. We're going to hold 1, 2, coming slowly down. Coming up again, 1, 2, coming slowly down. 4 repetitions left. Lifting up, holding 1, 2, coming slowly down. 3 repetitions. Make sure you do it really slow. If you need a break, take a break on the bottom. Lifting up, 1, 2, and down. 2 repetitions, and we're done. Up, 1, 2, and down. 1 last one, as high as we can, lifting up, 1, 2, and coming down. On the next exercise, we're going to warm up our shoulders a little bit. We are not going to be using them a lot during stretching today, but we just want to make sure they're warm so they don't get injured. From here, my head is down on the ground. I'm going to be lifting my arms up and around, all the way behind my back, touching them together, back to the front. And the whole idea with this exercise is to trying to lift up as high as you can, as well as making sure you're rotating your hands through the whole movement. 2 more repetitions, opening as wide as you can, touching hands together behind your back, coming back to the front. 1 last one, we're going to have a little break, and then we're going to repeat it 5 more times. And having a tiny break, and we're going to go again. 5, nice and high, coming back, super slow. 4, super slow. 3, 2 repetitions left. And one last one as high as you can. I know this is really tiring. We only have a little bit left. And having a break. We are now on our very last warm-up exercise, and we're going to need a bit of wall space for it. So I'm going to pull my mat to the side here. It is really important to do all this active work to protect our backs and to strengthen our backs, so we don't only get flexible, but we also get really strong and can really support our flexibility. Okay, on this one we're going to be doing lifts. I'm using the friction from the wall, so my feet are against the wall, and this helps me lift up a little bit higher. And we're going to go for 10 repetitions all together, lifting up for 10, 9, readjusting your feet if you need to, 8, 7, 6, nice and slow, taking breaks, readjusting legs if you need, 5, 4, 3, 2, and try to go up as high as you can on the last one now, 1. Yes, we are done with the horrible part, and we're going to move on to the more fun part of stretching. So we're going to be still using the wall. Our feet are on the wall, and from here we're going to be using our hands to work a little bit more of that articulation. So I'm going to be lifting up my head. I'm going to be walking my fingers towards my chest. And from here I'm going to be arching through my very upper back and my neck. So my ribs, they remain on the ground here. So if you feel for your ribs should still be touching the mat. So all this arch is coming from my upper lumbar region, my neck, and my thoracic spine. We're going to repeat this 4 more times, nice and slow, lifting up through our neck, shoulders back, lifting the chest up to the ceiling. I'm using my hands to push down into the ground, checking if my ribs are on the ground. They're still on the ground. Pushing my hands into the ground and lifting up, looking back as if something is pulling me right by my sternum up to the sky. Coming slowly down. We only have 3 to go here, super nice and slow, going back into the stretch. Ribs are still down on the ground. We're going to hold here, actively lifting the chest up to the ceiling. Coming slowly down, having a little break. Lifting back up. We only have 2 repetitions left. We're going to hold here for a little bit. Coming slowly down. Deep inhale and exhale, having a little break, and we're going to go for our last repetition before we move to another stretch. And coming slowly down. Good, we're going to have the tiniest break. If you want a sip of water or anything, this is the best time to do it. For the next exercise here, we're going to be kneading a wall. I'm going to place my hands right in front of my eyes. From here, I'm going to be thinking about pushing through my shoulders first. And from here, I'm going to be leaning down, bringing my chest down to the ground. This exercise will, of course, stretch your shoulders. But the main aim of it is to try to stretch our upper back. So rather than thinking of trying to bring my chest to the wall, I'm thinking about using my arms to push my chest down to the ground. This way I can take the stretch a little bit off my shoulders and put it more into my upper back. Our head is going to look back as the last part, then we're going to hold this for 30 seconds here. Breathing really shallow, so small breaths in, small breaths out, and really thinking about pushing your chest down to the ground. Three, 2, 1, and coming slowly out. You're going to have a tiny break here, so doing whatever feels comfortable for your shoulders and your back. And we're going to go for a second out of 3 repetitions. Making sure that you push the wall away first, just because that opens our shoulder blades and allows us to stretch a little bit more through our thoracic spine. We also really want to make sure that we adjust the intensity of the stretch to the length of the position. So if you need to hold it for 30 seconds, we really need to make sure that it is not more intense than a position we can hold for the entire 30 seconds. We only have 10 seconds left here. 3, 2, and coming out. We're going to go for another break again, so whatever feels comfortable for your neck, your spine, your shoulders. And getting slowly back into our last 30 seconds hold. Remembering to push the wall away first, pushing down, thinking about using our arms to push our chest down to the ground. 10 seconds. 3, 2, and coming out. Taking a little break, getting some movement back into our spine. For our next exercise, we're going to still be kneading the wall. From here, we're going to bring our hands up on the wall, making sure that our hips are quite close to the wall this time. It usually takes a few attempts to find the perfect distance here, so feel free to take a little bit of time. From here, we're going to be lifting up through our shoulders. I'm going to be looking back with my head, bringing my hands down. I'm going to be pushing the wall away, so I'm pushing into my arch, really thinking about looking back with the head and trying to touch my head to my hips. Coming slowly down, we're going to repeat this 4 times, holding for about 10 seconds on the top. Leaning back, looking back with our head, squeezing our glutes to protect our lower backs. Coming slowly back down again. If you want, you can take your arms off the wall for a break. Otherwise, you can just be having a break here. Remembering to squeeze your glutes even in the break. Lifting back up. Coming slowly down. And back again. Lifting slowly up, bringing our hands a little bit further down, really squeezing our glutes. Head down to our glutes. Tiny breaths, coming down. And we're going to be lifting up one last time, going piece by piece, head, upper back, and then lower back. Coming slowly down. From here, we're going to push it back into a child's pose, just to give our spine a tiny break. Going to relax for a second, and then we only have one exercise left. For the last exercise, you're going to be needing a yoga block. I don't have one here, so I just folded the jumper. And from here, we're going to be placing our chin on the block, and I'm going to try to find a height where I can't touch my chest to the wall. I can touch it here, so I'm going to bring my jumper a little bit further down. In this exercise, you want to make sure that you're not opening your mouth and that you're also arching through your upper back. So I'm using all my muscles there. I'm going to try to bring my chest as close to the wall as I can, and we're going to hold here for a little bit. You might feel that you're going to be getting a little bit dizzy in this exercise. That's perfectly normal. Just make sure you're in control of how dizzy you get. If it's too intense for you, just step it back a little bit. And from here, we're going to repeat it 4 more times all together. So finding what the right height is for you. And we're slowly going to go for our first hold. We're going to hold for about 10 seconds. Hands down, pushing chest to the wall. Shallow breathing here. So tiny breaths in and tiny breaths out. Coming slowly out. We have 3 repetitions to go. Adjusting our block or jumper. Arching again. Feel free to use the wall to adjust the intensity. We're going to hold for 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and coming out. We only have 2 repetitions left. We are going to take a tiny break for our necks and our spines here, so doing whatever feels comfortable. And we're going to be slowly getting back into position. This is our second to last repetition. Only 5 seconds left here. Coming slowly out. On the last one, we're going to go for a little challenge for those that want to try this variation of this exercise. We're going to be doing exactly the same thing, but now we are going to use our shoulders as well. So now we're going to set up for this last exercise together, chins on our cushions, reaching our hands up as high as we can, and we're going to stay here for 10 seconds. Adjusting our cushion or our block if you need. Finding a good position that works for you. We only have 5 seconds left here. Shallow breathing. 3, 2, and coming slowly out. And just before we wrap it up for today, we're just going to finish off with a little bit of reversing of that arch from our back and a little bit of decompression for our spine. So we're just going to start with lying down on our backs, and we're just going to do a little bit of activation for our core. So I'm making sure my lower back is down on the ground, and I'm just going to be bringing my knees up to my chest. Nice and low at first. We're going to go for a few mountain climbers if you don't feel like the first exercise is working for you. 3, 2, and 1, and we're going to move on to another exercise. This is just a little bit of a bigger version of the first one we did. So lifting our hips a little bit higher. Last repetition. And on the next one, we're just going to do a little bit for our obliques. So I'm lifting my shoulder blades up from the ground, and I'm just going to be crunching to my side, touching my hand to my foot. One last repetition now. And for the last part, we're going to be doing a little bit of decompressing for our spine. We're going to need those 2 chairs I talked about earlier. We're going to use our arms to support our upper body here. And we're going to be sinking our legs down, letting our lower body hang on our spine. So what this does, it just stretches our spine a little bit and decompresses our discs. If this is very easy for you, you can be picking your feet up off the ground. If you don't quite know how to relax your core, I think you can try to inhale. So inflate your lungs and just letting your legs hang here. If you want, you can be going for tiny crunches. If you want to round through the lower back a little bit. This is a really great exercise just because it takes the pressure off your spine after a stretching session. Thank you so much for joining me. If this routine helped you in any kind of way, please consider subscribing or at least liking this video, just because it really helps my mission here. Otherwise, if you haven't seen the video where I talk about science and back bending, you can see it here again. And see you next week.